Hi, I'm Dr. Patrice Berry, and I have a story to tell you, and it is a humdinger of a story. Okay, so one day, someone had left the door open, the back door of the patio that lets out onto, well, we're on a lot of land, and there's land all around, and it's greenery all around. And the squirrels had been doing what squirrels do in the spring. They had a lot of babies, and one of those babies got in the house. And I looked up and I saw it, and I was like, I think that's a squirrel. And my sister and her wife were visiting, and my niece was here, my daughter was here, and everybody's like, no, my niece was not here. Maybe she was here. No, I don't think she was here. She'd have caught it. So everybody's like, try to get it done. So I think it was my daughter who actually finally trapped it, because the thing, every time they'd get close to it, it was moving. So they're looking in this box at the thing, and they declare that it is a sugar glider. And I'm like, ooh, what's a sugar glider? And they're like, ooh, it's exotic. I think they said it came from Madagascar. I don't know. I'm probably making up Madagascar. But they said it came from somewhere. And I was like, what's it doing here in Georgia? They're like, people have them as pets. And I'm like, well, why would people have this thing as a pet? And I'm like, what? So I'm like, I think it's a squirrel. And they're like, no, come look at it. And I was like, no, I don't want to look at it, because it's in the box looking out, like, I don't belong in here, my baby. I'm looking for my mom. Have you seen my mom? Have you seen my mom? So I'm like, that thing is a squirrel. So they're calling, there's a person up the road that rescues animals. They're calling around the neighborhood. We have a really, like close-knit neighborhood, so you can kind of send a message to a couple of people. Do you know anybody who has a sugar glider that might have gotten away? They put it on the community Facebook page. Anybody has a sugar glider that got away? And I'm like, yo, that is a squirrel. Like, it's a sugar glider. So they take a picture of it and send it to somebody. It's a squirrel. So I'm like, get the squirrel out of the house. The squirrel's people are going to be looking for him. So we take the squirrel, and Fatima she says something about, she read something about if they've been in a place, they're coming back to a place. Fatima be making up stuff. So we take the squirrel down the road a little ways, not very far, just over a little bit, over the land a little bit. And for the next 2 weeks, the mother, father, and I think several of the cousins and their cousins were all up in my attic looking for that baby squirrel. So then, of course, they can't get out, however they came in. So Fatima's like, I'm going to call a guy that removes them, and somebody's going to come and remove them. My neighbors are like, you want me to get up in there? I can shoot them squirrels. And Fatima's like, no. And I'm like, no. So we call these people who trap them, and they put a little thing around on the outside to keep them from being able to come back in, because you really want to block up those places. But apparently, the humane catchers are really expensive. Like, really expensive. Like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. $1,000. Well, it's a big area, and there were several places that had to be closed up, and then you had to trap them there, and then you had to put this thing. Maybe it was 900. Anyway, and there were several holes, so they had to go around, and the squirrel could kind of get in. So we trapped all these squirrels, and he's like, I got 4 of them. I'm gonna come on back tomorrow, see what else I get. So we get all these squirrels, and then there's a thing that's built now that they can't get back in. But there was a reunion of the baby and the mother and the father and the cousins and their cousins. And I'm pretty sure they told the other squirrels because we live in Squirrel Park now. And we have this like little game whenever our fruit has sat too long. We have a game to see who can roll their fruit down the hill the farthest. And it feeds the squirrels and the possums because we have possums too. And I think there's raccoon. Um, yeah, yeah, a couple of other things, but it was not a sugar glider. And I am glad that um, we took care of them in a humane way. That's the right thing to do. But next time, I'm going to get some traps. Do it myself. I love you.